Hello, my name is Julia, and I'm here with iCadenza, and I'm sitting here at the Beverly Hills Civic Center Plaza, where a free concert is about to take place with artists from the Los Angeles Opera. And I have the privilege of sitting here right now with Daniel Montenegro, and he's agreed to talk to us for a few minutes. So, hi, Daniel.
Hi, how are you?
So my first question for you is, how did you first get started with opera? Was it really a natural progression, or was there another career you were considering?
I guess the first introduction I got to opera was in high school. I was in chorus. Actually, I joined the chorus with a buddy of mine, just as an elective, just basically for an easy grade. But it was something that I was good at, and I stayed in all through high school, and basically because all the friends I made. But I didn't grow up in a household that listened to classical music or opera at all. And it wasn't until my last year in high school where I saw my first opera, and it was here in Los Angeles, and it was Pagliacci by Leoncavallo, and Maestro Domingo was singing Pagliacci, and I just fell in love with it. And the next day I asked my choral director, and I said, how do you sing like that? All that, with all that power and all the passion and the drama, because it was so foreign from what we did in choir. We did, stuff, musical theater stuff and stuff like that. And he told me, well, you have to train yourself in this different style. And that week I found a teacher, and I was luckily very fortunate to find a wonderful teacher at the start, which is, some colleagues aren't as fortunate as me in that aspect. And he knew exactly what to do with me. And the next year he put me in, actually a couple months went by, and he put me in a couple competitions, and then he pretty much convinced my parents to let me go to school in San Francisco at the conservatory, and I got a scholarship, and I went there for my undergrad. So that's basically how I got into this whole opera thing.
That's wonderful. And how did you end up getting involved with Los Angeles Opera?
Actually, it was through the education department. After I graduated, I did 2 years of residency with the Minnesota Opera as a young artist there. And then I came back home. I'm from Orange County. And I met a coach. Her name is Vicky Kirsch. And she said, you should audition for the LA Opera Education Department. They have a lot of great programs, and it's a good way to get your name out there in this area. And I did. And at that audition, Greg Henkel was there, who at the time, he was, I think, assistant administrator to casting. And he heard me, and just so happened that a couple months later, somebody pulled out. They were doing Traviata, and the Alfredo cover pulled out, and they needed a cover, and he called me, and he said, "Do you know?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And I didn't know it at the time, but I knew the arias and such. And he's like, "Well, in two weeks, can you do it?" And I said, "Yeah." So that's how I got involved with the opera. But it was prior to that, it was through the education department, which is what we're doing now, this outreach education, that I got involved with the LA Opera. And that was actually 10 years. I made my debut with the LA Opera 10 years to the month that I saw my first opera in LA. So it was kind of like a homecoming kind of thing. Yeah.
And that production that you mentioned, the Traviata, was that the production where you sang alongside with Renee Fleming?
No. The production that I was just talking about was a production we did in June, and the production that I was with Renee Fleming, that was in September of that same year, and it was basically just to open the season. So we did three shows, but it was a different production from the one in June, but it was still directed by Marta Domingo, and it was just one of those things that during the rehearsal, because I was covering Alfredo, I wasn't doing Gaston, and Gaston didn't make it to the rehearsal, and it was a tech rehearsal on stage, and I just went up there and started singing the Gaston part, and I think that she probably noticed me doing that part, and then she said, "Well, how about he does it in September?" So they asked me. Somebody told me that's how it happened, but who knows? I mean, I was just very fortunate to do it, and that was a great experience.
What was it like singing alongside with such incredible stars?
It was incredible. I mean, when I was at the conservatory, with my buddies. I mean, we used to spend our days hanging out at Tower Records and, just hearing all the great stars, and to be on the same stage with Renee Fleming and Rolando Villazón, and then Mr. Domingo that same season. It was incredible. It was like a dream come true. I didn't expect that it would happen so fast, and it did. And every one of them was so gracious there. It was. I mean, it's a testament to the big stars. I mean, the really good ones, that they're mostly all very, very down to earth. So it was a great experience.
Do you have any funny anecdotes about things that have happened on stage, mishaps, or just like funny stories in rehearsal? I don't know.
Gosh. I should probably write some down because they happen all the time, but I always forget. Well, one that just comes to mind, because we're talking about Traviata. On the entrance for Gaston and Alfredo, Rolando and I, we used to be waiting backstage, and before every show, he used to give me a high five, and that night he was giving me a high five, and then he noticed that he didn't have his glove on, and that was like right before we're going on, and I've never seen a guy run so fast. He ran all the way to the dressing room and back in like 3 seconds, and he was on for the top, and he didn't miss a beat, and that was incredible. But I mean, there's other things I just can't recall at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard. Sorry for putting you on the spot like that. So I also heard that you are one of the American tenors. So what are you doing with that? What are you guys doing in the future? What's the plan?
Well, basically that's pretty much died down now. It was a great experience when it happened. It was right after college. This guy named Frank McNamara, he put together the Irish tenors. He had this idea to do the American tenors, but a younger version, and it was great. He did a round of auditions around the U.S., and I was one of the lucky 3, and we did a PBS special at the Kodak Theater here in Hollywood, and got to do all the PBS stuff, the PBS drives and stuff like that. But now I guess our last concert was about a year ago, and I see them from time to time, but we don't have any plans on doing anything else. But you never know.
Absolutely. What in general, opera is such a beautiful art form. What do you think it is about opera that distinguishes it from other art forms or from contemporary forms of music, that are so popular?
That's a good question. I think that opera is kind of like the maximum of all the art forms, because it involves all the art forms, and because it's done on such a big stage, it has to be enhanced. I mean, everything not enhanced. Don't get me wrong. There's no electronic enhancement, but as in everything has to be big. All the gestures have to be big. The singers have to sing loud, or project is the correct word. And there's dancers. The visual. There's the music. So it's. I mean, it involves everything, all the arts forms. So I think that's what's really special about opera. I mean, it's a circus. I mean, if you think about it. But a controlled circus, and and that's what makes it so beautiful, I think.
And you performed on stages all across the world, from Sydney, Australia, to the Kodak Theater, like you mentioned, here in LA. Is there a stage, a theater that stands out in your memory, or a performance that was really, really special?
Well, I have to say here in LA, because that first Traviata, when I first came out for my curtain call after the first act, we did a tableau call, which is not done in all the theaters, and we don't do it all the time at the opera, but where it's when you bow after every act, and just looking out at the audience, and I could see where my mom was sitting and all that, and seeing that 10 years ago, I was in the same spot, and here I was, so that was really special.
That's so amazing. And my last question for you is, what do you have coming out? What are your upcoming performances? We'll definitely try to follow you.
Thank you. The next thing, in the fall, I'm doing a small part in Verdi's Otello with the San Francisco Opera. And then after that, I'm going to Australia again, and I'll be involved in the Sydney Festival, and we're doing Oedipus Rex. I'll be doing The Shepherd and Oedipus Rex. So that's going to be exciting.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. And I'm really excited about the performance. And you can find my review about the performance on iCadenza.com. Thank you.